Brewster's Millions. Hey,
So,
go on.
sorry. How do you want to do it? Like, do you want just like start recording when you start the film playing, like literally start talking about it, and then like, or
Yeah, man.
as
Let's try that.
okay,
Let's try that.
okay. Oh, what was you going to say? I just felt like interrupted.
Oh no, I was just going to say I had a quick look on Rotten Tomatoes,
Oh yeah.
and I was really surprised. What do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score is for Brewster's Millions?
Oh, it must be low. It's like 30 or something.
You know it is, yeah.
30. Oh, what I get. But you know what's funny about Rotten Tomatoes though, and it's really funny because I don't really hate really many websites really, but if I used Rotten Tomatoes to justify what films I watched, I wouldn't watch almost every
Anything.
film. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so funny. God, I can't believe I got the number right.
It just seems madness to me. And what it does is it comes up. You know when you go into go to Google and it says Rotten
yeah.
Tomatoes score, and then it says
yeah.
Google users, how many people recommend it, and that's like 90.
Isn't that amazing? You would think with a film like this, you would think it'd be in the hundreds, wouldn't you? Thousands even. Because like Richard Pryor, it's like, you know,
It's all there.
It's a popular film. It's based on like a remake. But what's funny though, I'll say it as it's starting. I feel like I say this on loads of my commentaries. But instantly, I drop back in now if so many times when, I think I said to you on the phone the other day, this was always my go-to film to watch when I was ill, like or hungover. It's like, oh, put Brewster's Millions on. So now, even though I feel perfectly fine, I almost feel like I'm ill. but in a really good way, which doesn't make no sense.
Yeah, it's funny actually. You know these like opening scenes. My VHS copy of Brewster's Millions doesn't have all of this.
Seriously?
No, it was recorded off the television.
Oh, okay.
And there's a load of this stuff missing, right? So the stuff in the bar.
Oh yeah.
Half of that is missing. So when I used to watch it, I was missing a lot of the context that he's a baseball player. It was like I remember being a bit confused about all that aspect of it. I was like, where's all this come from about buying a baseball team? Because I hadn't seen all this.
But you know what? Isn't that funny though? There's a couple of things there.
I thought they were just wearing the tops out of like fashion.
Well, because in the UK, I think a lot of people, if you're outside of the UK, a lot of people do wear sports tops, don't they? Even if they aren't like in a team or anything. So yeah. I guess you kind of would think that. And I think when you watch stuff on TV, either a TV version or like before like electronic program guides, when you would flick around the TV and just watch something, I think it puts you in such an interesting frame of mind that like you said, you weren't sure they were baseball players.
No.
But like that's give you such an interesting perspective on this film where if you're just watching it like we are now or on Netflix, you just go, yeah, they play baseball. Like, you know, so it's like...
And you'd have all that context, but I didn't have all that. It's really weird, isn't it? And it's something, you know, we were talking on the phone the other day and we were saying the actual format of the video that you had and the state of it and where it was recorded from, whether it was new, what adverts, you know, it has the adverts at the beginning of videos for other films, all that.
Oh, yeah. Like trailers and stuff.
All the trailers, that's the word I'm looking for. What that is tailors your experience a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
it's different to somebody else's.
Literally, this was about like 3 hours ago. I was in my bedroom and I was looked at a pile of VHS tapes, and one of them was Brewster's Millions taped off Sky Movies. And I can remember, it's been into my brain the last time I watched that at my dad's house. And for some reason, the video was overheating and it kept stopping the tape. And so now when I look at that tape, I'm like, that's how I remember that tape, by that experience of like, I was like, come on, play.
Yeah, totally. It's, it's so much part of it.
And as well, and I think I said this to you the last few times we spoke, but like how the 80s, I think, has got like a reputation for being like all fashionable and like lasers and their futuristic cars and stuff. But to me, some people in a bar just talking, it's just as 80s to me as anything. It's like a big permed haircut or something. It's like just seeing somebody in a bar, especially if there's a country band playing. That's the 1980s to me, or a payphone as well.
Yeah, do you know what it is as well? Like, to us, because we frame the 70s, the 60s, the 70s and 80s in terms of history, we frame it like that. You know, they're like different, the worlds apart. But no, they're not. Like, 10 years ago was pretty much the same as now. Do you agree?
Yeah. That is funny. I know if it's just because, like where I live in, like, Staffordshire and stuff, where it's like the middle of the UK, friendly outside the UK, I walk down some streets, and it may as well be
88.
Yeah, it's just exactly the same. I don't know which Loch video is I've mentioned it, but I don't know if you've got the same. But I've got almost like a mini checklist in my head of so let's say it's like a deal breaker. Well, I usually find a lot of my favourite films have got certain things in.
Oh, okay, like a checklist of things that appeal to you.
Yeah, well, it's like that. This guy's on a payphone.
Yeah,
it's such an inconsequential thing, but I'm pretty sure if I wrote down my top 20 favourite films, I bet you 15 of them have got a payphone scene in. And I don't think there's no rhyme or reason behind it. I think it's just one of them fluke things.
Yeah.
It's like, and when I piece my favourite films together, be like, oh, there's a scene where they're in a bar. Oh, there's a payphone scene. Oh, there's a scene with a character smoking. And it's like, I didn't never set out to do it like this. And, you know, it could be like a comedy, it could be a horror film, it could be an old film, it could be a brand new film. It could be like a film aimed at kids. It could be like an 18 certificate. But they've really always got these little checklist things in there. And I know it's like a subconscious thing. I don't know.
Just quickly, John Candy. So I just like, he's probably one of my favourite like comic actors. I mean, like Uncle Buck is just amazing.
Well, I think Uncle Buck, he's one of them characters where I always associate with that kind of character because I've always been a bit of a screw up, and I've always tried to do the right thing. And I think with a character like that, and just John Candy in general, you always come across as just a really nice bloke, and like, you know,
he really does.
Yeah,
and it's not just the fact, you know, that usual thing of, oh, you know, he's a chubby bloke, therefore he's funny. No, he's really, really funny, and it's never. Have you noticed in John Candy films, the joke is never his weight? Have you noticed that?
Do you know, that's a really good point, actually.
Whereas a lot of bigger comedians, that's not the main joke, but it's part of the act. John Candy never comes up.
Do you know what, though? I think that's a good point, actually, because I think a really good comedian, the most obvious, if it's a comedian where they've got like, oh, I wear glasses, or like I say, a big tall guy or something, if that's their only shtick, you're not really that funny. Where probably Richard Pryor and John Candy are probably perfect examples where you could go, oh, they've got these certain quote stereotypes, and then like Richard Pryor, all his jokes are so amazing, and John Candy's jokes are all so amazing. They don't just go into those stereotypes you could so easily just mention. And it's like there, though, and that's another thing as well. These two guys were just mates. And it's like, oh, cool. So it's just like, yeah, they're just two mates. Yeah, it's like, awesome.
They're just pals, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the setup. And actually, funnily enough, saying about John, oh, yeah, that's the dad from Dirty Dancing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Don't put baby in a corner, that's him, isn't it?
Yeah.
So saying how John Candy was never, the joke was never that he was fat. Equally, there's no mention in this film that, I mean, bear in mind the time when this is. There's no mention at all that Richard Pryor is black.
I don't think there might just be
maybe keep an ear out
when he's like spending loads of money. I don't know if there's a cop, but virtually nothing really.
But that's not the angle, is it? It's not. Oh, where's he got all this? It's not.
Well, do you know one thing that really blew me away? I watched the 1945 version of Brewster's Millions about.
Oh, have you seen that?
Yeah, about like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
One of not the main character, but one of the secondary characters is a black guy. And apparently a lot of cinemas wouldn't show it because they were treating this black guy nice. And it was just like, what?
Because he was like, being treated at the same level.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's like terrifying, like, you know, and it's like that's one thing though as well. This always sounds like proper new age, like, yeah, right, of course. But I felt like me and my mates, like when you say about like John Candy being fat or Richard Pryor being black, it was never like an issue. It was like, okay, that's just a deal. Just like,
yeah,
you know, I know it's fashionable nowadays to, you know, not like body shame somebody or not judge somebody on where they're from. I don't think I've ever done it.
No.
Just and if anything, if somebody's got like a quirk, or if somebody's from another country or something, to me that makes it cooler. It's like, it's like nearly all my favorite things are like American or Japanese or something. So
yeah. I think that's the state of mind, though. That's why I think maybe people like us get a bit confused when things like race are an issue, because it's just not on our radar at all. But I don't know. It's like this. Look at the judge. The judge is a black judge. Do you know what I mean? It's just, but it's not a big. It's just.
Yeah, it's not an issue. It's like, okay, it's like
this. This stuff here. It reminds me a bit of the Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor interplay, because it feels a bit improvised.
Oh yeah, it does actually. And as well, I don't know if you know this, but I heard Gene Wilder saying about this, that really good improvisation is when you don't try to get the best line, you just set the next guy up, and they set you up as well. So you're constantly like this back and forth. You're not trying to do this like one-upmanship thing.
I've got a friend who's an improv, who does a lot of improv.
Oh, seriously?
Like as a what do you call it? You know, like improv comedians.
Yeah.
And there's like little rules built into it. Like you're never supposed to say no to anything. So you never. If someone says to you, "Oh, have you done anything good today?" You're never supposed to say, "I didn't go out today."
Yeah.
You know, you're always supposed to, like you say, you're supposed to be feeding, not cutting stuff off. Oh, here we go. Oh, it was a novel originally.
Oh yeah, and it's like ancient as well. It's like from the 30s or something.
Okay. And pretty much the same.
And as well.
Do you think the novel is pretty much the same plot? Is the film, actually, you've seen the film, is that the same plot, the original film?
Yeah, I think they're all basically the same. I think the amount of money changes. I think it might have been $1 million in the original novel, which basically somebody gets given a lot of money and then they've got to spend it in a certain amount of time. But even that though as well, and this is one of those films where it's almost like the perfect film, because I think everybody, no matter again, if you man, woman, black, white, old, young, if everybody loves that concept of, could I spend this money in this time? I think anybody watching this film would love to be in this situation. You just, in theory, or just writing it down on a piece of paper. I think it's just one of them perfect films for that reason,
Well, also because you play that game, don't you, with this film of, well, hang on, what would be the best thing to spend your money on? Like,
well, yeah,
I did that as a kid. I was like, okay, so I wonder if I could like buy something that was like antique and then throw it out a window. I was like, what can you do, to sort of pull this off?
Well, even now though, I'm amazed like when he does sort of like pay people these like insane wages, and the wages, they're amazing wages now, let alone like 35 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Oh, and as well, talking about this little mini checklist of things I've got that make films great. But when he goes into this office in a min and they show him the will on a projector, I don't know why, loads of my favourite films have got the main hero being given a set of instructions from a 16mm projector. It happens in Enter the Dragon, it happens in Firefox.
Really?
So yeah, so it's like, to me, it's like if somebody, it happens in the original Italian Job as well. So anybody getting given instructions?
Of course it is. Yes.
So it's like oh my god! It's like,
I love that clicky noise that goes with it. That's the film.
Well, they're showing my age here, but I can still remember watching a couple of educational films at high school on projector.
Yeah.
And I still think of that like that.
Yeah.
Bang on, yeah.
Right. How much of a nice guy is this fella?
Oh yeah, I mean, because he's got the potential there to be like a proper arsehole character, but like I say, he's dead sweet and he's always so like sticking.
This is going to sound really sad, but I remember thinking, I wish he was my granddad.
Oh no, but again,
because he's so nice.
But this is one of those things though where I feel like that is something where people really do watch films in a specific way. I think I've got more respect for the kind of memories and emotions, because that's dead genuine. I've watched loads of films like that where might not be that specific memory, but I thought, I'd like to hang around a person like that, or I'd like to be in that situation, or like to, and they're the memories that stick with you because they're real, they're personal.
I like watching his nurse.
Oh, you like watching his what, sorry?
His nurse just stands there.
Oh, yeah. I
like watching that.
And that's another thing, though. Like this guy who's like related to, like, I love that about like 80s films as well. When you get people that were like proper old school actors that were like, they were like 70, 80 or something.
And you sort of vaguely recognise them from other things, but you're not sure what.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, I've seen this film so many times. I really should know, but I was everything annoying where they just go on IMDb before and just give myself a bit of a refresher.
Have a refresher.
I just thought I'd play it by you because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, man, and also I think when you go and research a film, what you're going to find out isn't necessarily going to add to your experience of it, because like we were saying, like your experience of it is so personal to the things that connected with you, that finding out that such and such was in such another film or all that. And also, when you find out about like, oh, they got an Academy Award for this, that, and the other, it doesn't really change anything, does it? Because it's just the same.
Well, it's funny you should say that, though, because I think you bang on. But the one thing I do quite like about it occasionally, there'll be films that I've found out that have been nominated for Academy Awards that I never thought for a million years they were. Like War Games or The Karate Kid or something. I knew that I adore those films. I think they're amazing. Like when I found like Pat Morita was nominated for an Oscar, I was like, was he? Like, who knew?
Yeah, that's weird, actually, isn't it? Because in a way, in your brain, you sort of separate the cult films from the awards. And so, yeah, if you suddenly found out that Karate Kid did well at the awards, you'd be like, did it?
Well, it's so funny as well, because I think sometimes they must really hate it especially when it's like a horror movie as well. Like when American Werewolf in London won for like makeup, they must be like, oh no.
Yeah, but fair play though. That transformation in American Werewolf in London is...
It's still pretty good, to be fair. I mean, I'm a big, I give CGI a lot of slack, and I quite like a lot of CGI, but it's a great effect.
CGI is good at augmenting stuff. It's when you entirely rely on it, you can tell.
I think it's fascinating because I think there's so much CGI where sometimes it's so obvious you go, oh, that's obviously CGI. Yeah. And then sometimes you'll watch a film where they'll show the making of, and the whole city is CGI, and you're like, oh, I never realised. Like, it's like, or some amazing like background, or some like replacement vehicle or something, and that. But,
yeah. See, that's okay. If you just sort of like adding vehicles in the background and all that, but it's when you've got fully CGI characters / creatures, and I'm just a bit like, I'm not really buying it. Oh, about this close up, by the way, when it really goes in close up, this one.
That.
I don't know. I love that when it goes in on him.
No, it's good. No, it's. I think you pay more attention because it's just you don't see shots like that very often. Yeah. I think it's like when the camera's on an angle sometimes, and it just makes you pay attention even if you don't realise.
Yeah, that's a common thing. When you put the camera at an angle, it's to make you feel a bit like unsettled, isn't it? You see that sometimes. And
there's so many little shots, and it's one of those things where once it's almost like finding out how magic tricks work. But sometimes they'll have the camera low, so you're looking up to somebody, or the camera high, so you're looking down. Yeah, and once you know all those little things, if you're consciously looking for them, they're like everywhere. But that's the other thing though as well, talk about the camera angles. I love how directors like Walter Hill, who directed this, or John Landis is another one, where the directing's really functional. It's like it's just a camera locked off and showing the information.
Get the story across.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
No, these two.
Oh yeah,
these are a couple of sods. They seem like they're modelled on what do you call it? The two ones at the Muppet Show. What are they called?
Oh yeah, Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah, they've got that sort of feel about them.
I thought you were going to say the two guys from Trading Places, but they are very Muppets. It does have to be said.
Yeah, well, I was going to follow it up with Trading Places. Isn't one of them in Trading Places? Or am I getting that wrong? Do they make a guest appearance in Trading Places?
One of it. They aren't the two guys from Trading Places. They could be in Trading Places, but they're not the two main guys. I know that.
Right.
One's Ralph Bellamy, and the other is. Because they were in Trading Places, and
they're in Coming to America. One of them is in Coming to America.
But they are two different guys,
right? But they're similar. That's what's done it because they're a sort of similar function.
Oh yeah, they're really similar characters. They look really similar. They're similar age. Oh, that's another thing as well. This clock chime is actually a digital sample. It was done on a really expensive keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Like the keyboard cost like 10 grand or something.
It would have been what did they call it at the time? It was with the Korg keyboards and all that.
They were called. They were one of the big ones. Oh, I think it's called like a synclaver or something like that. It's one of the very first synths. It was like super expensive.
That's the funny thing about synths. I don't know the details here, but I do know that, like in the early '80s, there were only really 4 or 5, and so when you hear films and TV, you hear the same sort of sounds in them.
Oh yeah.
And it reminds you of that era. And it's not because people were sort of copying each other's rhythms; they were just using the same tools.
Well, yeah.
There's a Thompson Twins song. I can't remember which one it is, but there's a moment in the Thompson Twins song where it really reminds me of the soundtrack to Mannequin, and it's just because they happen to be using the same synths.
Well, there's a keyboard, and it's funny you should say that because you're absolutely bang on. And there's a keyboard called the Yamaha DX7. And if you ever see an 80s music video or an old episode of Top of the Pops, if someone's playing a keyboard, there's a good chance it's a Yamaha DX7 because they're just like this, like on everything.
And so you just get to hear it, don't you? The sound,
yeah.
Like early '80s Doctor Who has a really specific sound to it, and it's because of the keyboard they're using is being used across all of BBC TV shows. So you hear it in Blake 7, and you even hear it in if you watch shows that aren't sci-fi, but they're using the same keyboard, so it has the same.
No, you're absolutely bang on.
Here we go. This is it. So this is when he starts hiring people, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, even this is like one of those things though, where I think because like you when you saying what you were thinking, what would you do? How would you do it? And even as like an adult, I think this is like such a great exercise in screenwriting and script writing.
Yes, it is. It's got a perfect 3-act structure. This has.
Oh yeah, no, you bang on. I mean, just even the visual representation of the money. I mean,
it's amazing.
You see it go down.
And this is what it's about. When you're a kid, I'm getting a tingle now because I remember the feeling. It's like.
Well, it was. Well, I'm supposed to say that because I remember as a kid, if I ever watched this, I always remember my mum saying, "I'd like just have one of them bundles of money," and you're like, "God, yeah,
that's all I need."
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
Because it's funny actually. If you look behind the big stash in the middle, there is like money bags and stuff, all piled up.
Because I've never really ever particularly had much money. I wonder if that's what banks are really like. Do they have? Is it just? Or do banks have full? Are they full of money still, or are they just like?
Funnily enough, I used to work for a bank for a shortish period, and the answer is no, because a lot of the time, the weird thing about a bank is right. Let's say if a bank has got everybody's savings, yeah. So let's say across all the customers of a bank, they've got, I don't know, £2 billion worth of savings. Let's say if it's a small bank, £2 billion worth of savings. That bank does not have £2 billion.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought that. Yeah.
They don't have it in any way. They don't have it. So it's all about them balancing risk and assets. And if everyone came into a bank and said, "I want my money back now," all the banks would go bust because the money isn't there. It's really weird.
Isn't that funny? That's just reminded me of two things. One of my favourite bands, the KLF. There was one time when they burnt £1 million, and they said it took them 6 months to get the money out of the bank.
Yeah, because you can't just go and get it.
Yeah, and also as well, say about being from Staffordshire, once, I can't remember which bank it was or building society, it might have been the Britannia Building Society.
Yeah.
But for Vale and Stoke fans, for every pound they had in the bank, they would give 5p to charity or something. And they ended up giving some giant amount of money. And somebody reverse engineered how much money was in these bank accounts, saying that if this is how much money the Britannia Building Society have given to charity because of what people have got, saying there's people loaded apparently.
Because that's how they make the money. They make the money by gambling with your money.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's sometimes I wouldn't mind seeing filming locations for this scene here, though.
Oh,
this could.
Do you know? I don't know about you. You know when you watch these scenes. Oh, I don't remember it cutting back to here. You know when you watch these scenes on busy American streets. Do you ever look in the background and think, did everyone know they were being filmed?
Yeah, I especially a film I've seen a lot. I sometimes look just see if anyone's looking at the camera or. Yeah, I think sometimes there's so much stuff going on in some of these big cities that they like. People are like, oh, another film going on. Yeah, who cares?
Because look at the people right at the back here. They're all looking towards him, but I suppose the setup is that the rumours got round that he's got loads of money. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. And especially as well, if you see somebody that like what looks like a big entourage, I think you probably would look at him.
Yeah.
It's not very often to use the word entourage, by the way. I'm just going to get another beer. I won't be a sec.
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah, if you're saying entourage. Richard Pryor is one of them actors who doesn't even need to try. He just talks and it's brilliant. Just listening to him on the phone here, and I'm just saying that, like, Richard Pryor is one of them actors who doesn't need to act.
It's so distinctive, and I think it feels natural, even though he's like obviously a stand-up comedian, and
But that's why he's so good. Is that he doesn't think, like. I went to drama school, and one of the things you were warned against is thinking too much, because as soon as you start thinking, you start altering your behaviour, and then you get into problems. Whereas when someone comes from a background like comedy and comes from a tough, authentic upbringing, they've got less of a social filter, and Richard Pryor just does it, and it's amazing, really. He's just brilliant. I used to like this taxi driver.
oh no, but I think that's another thing though as well, where say you could look at that and think, oh, he's it's stereotype, and it's like a foreign taxi driver. But again, to me, it's like, well, it might be a touch of a stereotype in there, but well, again, it's just like a nice guy, just like if he's got an accent. It
doesn't worry me.
It's
yeah.
I think it's really tricky though with stuff like this, because like this is like the 6th remake of this film or something, and even if you were going to remake it again, you could think, oh, I won't have, there'll be no stereotypes, but I try write it a certain way, and you can't do right between wrong. You really can't. If you tried,
there's going to be a point. There's going to be a point where even the depiction of the whole premise of someone getting money and that being a good thing, at some point that's going to be a bad thing to portray. They're going to be like, oh, you can't say that like getting money is a good thing, so we can't do that. But I think like with a lot of things in culture, what happens is they go weird and everyone worries too much, and then it explodes, and then it goes back to basics and jumps onto a different track. So I never get worried about oh God, political correctness gone mad, or you can't say anything or whatever, because I think like to some degree, like it happens to every generation, this where you feel like all the fundamental fun things about life are being ripped up. I think that happens to every generation, and I don't think it's ever very real.
No, I think you're right.
That's my hope anyway, Dave.
Upon sorry?
That's my hope. I'm hoping that.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's true, because I think really you can, when the cinemas were open like a couple of months ago, or you can put the TV on now, and you still see stuff that's like, quote unquote offensive, or everybody isn't always just being nice to everybody and giving big giant hugs and stuff, and you do get a good mix. I think the only thing's political. I don't think political correctness is a thing necessarily, but if it is, the only things that's really stopped is people being really nasty for no reason, and that's a good thing, really.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. But it's when you get the two mixed up. Oh, this is the
the photographer.
Is he a journalist? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I think it's like a photographer. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because I've not seen him in anything else. Have you?
I feel like he's one of them actors. For the life of me, don't know his name and I can't place him. But I'll be amazed if he's not been in something. He's got a certain vibe to him.
He's got a sort of Goodfellas. You can imagine him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But even something as simple as that, like their digital calculator.
Nice calculator.
They weren't new then, because I think the first calculators came out like 1971 or something like that. But I felt like a really good calculator in the 80s was still a few quid. It wasn't like they were like £4 or something.
Yeah, it's like it's going to be like a Texas Instruments or something, isn't it? Yeah. In America at that point. I like watching the 8-bit guy when he because he always finds stuff like that, doesn't he? And
yeah, he's a good YouTuber. I don't know if you knew this, but I don't know if it's on all mobile phones, but if you've got your calculator on your mobile phone, and you turn it to landscape, it turns into a scientific calculator.
I didn't know that.
And when somebody told me that, it blew my mind. I was like, what? It was just like, whoa.
I could never work them anyway, the scientific ones. I remember we had to buy them at school, and I was just like...
Yeah, I'm like that.
Yeah.
I can't even remember how you write boobs on a calculator, and that's the only thing
I know how to do that.
He's a really good actor, the guy that plays the main reporter.
Oh, yeah, he's like...
Getting back to...
I don't know if his name is Chuck Newsworthy, but it should be. Is that...
Yeah.
It's something like that, isn't it?
He's been in loads of John Carpenter films. I know I should know his name. I'm just drawing a blank for some reason. That's a great shot.
It's like, hi, I'm, and if you think about it, like when they have a news reporter in Family Guy or The Simpsons, it's sort of based on that, isn't it? Hi, I'm Chuck Newsworthy,
Well, the one I always remember is from the Fast Show. It's like, hi, I'm Ed Winchester. And it's like, but again, sometimes though, you need that kind of serious voice or that voice that's really clear and that.
What gets me is, have you noticed that all weather presenters speak the same way?
Yeah, they kind of
They can't help themselves. And it's one of the things where I'm going back a few years now, but I helped a guy out who used to do presenter training. And I used to go in there at the time I was doing a lot of presenting, and I went in to do a presentation to the people who were on this presenter training. And they all had to do this little bit of presenting. And I just couldn't believe how they all just sounded like weather presenters. You get this way of speaking where you go up at the start of your sentence, then you go down at the end. And they can't help themselves. And I remember saying to them, if you wouldn't speak like that in Greg's, don't speak like that on the telly. But this was 5 or 6 years ago. But still now, people have that way of speaking where they go up and down. And it's weird. You don't speak like that in normal, do you?
Well, I think that is fascinating because I think it is weird how things go in waves and cycles. Because I always think it's funny sometimes even if you go back say 10, 15 years, and sometimes you'll see a news reporter who is so really authoritative and got a real stature to him. And then sometimes you see news reporters nowhere, they're just leaning by a desk and but
they've still got that. They've still got that rhythm. That
I guess so.
I love this when he's all decked out. John
he's got the catcher's mitt that's gold and that.
Yeah, he's like, hey. He's just, it's brilliant. Look, his little dance on the steps.
Oh. Well, even that's something as well. That's one of those things where it looks easier said than done to just have that rhythm and just do it look dead natural.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant how he's just full of beans, he's like...
Well, I like how, when she's doing the accounting, and some people have literally tried to freeze frame where when you see her accounts and what she's, and some people have tried to add it up. Yeah.
Well, you won't see it, but the copy we're actually watching is a 1080p version.
Oh, is it? All right.
I should say Dave's watching this over Zoom, so you won't see it. But I've had to, weirdly, and I find this a lot with Blu-ray, I've had to lighten it. Because sometimes when they transfer it to Blu-ray, it goes a bit dark.
Isn't that funny?
In the player, I've had to really lighten this, and I mean quite a lot. And what's been quite funny is when I've lightened it, it's made it look more like the VHS copy because everything's a bit overexposed.
It does look a bit like VHS.
Yeah.
Which we should say about Blu-rays though, because that's one thing I've always been a bit amazed when somebody will say, "Oh, I got a Blu-ray of an old film," and you can see the grain on it, and it's like, "Yeah, it was shot on film."
Yeah, it wasn't shot on Blu-ray.
It's like, and that's one thing I do like about. I can never remember, but I did it from one of my videos where I checked what the resolution was for film, and it's quite
high.
Yeah, it's millions. It's really high. So even if you do 8K or 12K or 16K discs, you'll always be able to scan these old films and make them clearer because they were shot on film.
My understanding is the only thing that will restrict it is when the cameraman was shooting it and getting his focus. That was done obviously by human eye.
Well, yeah.
And so if it's slightly soft, it's because he couldn't get it exactly right.
Yeah, no, that's a good point actually. That is true, yeah, because obviously you're talking theoretical maximum, but somebody's only got to be a fraction off, aren't they? And it's not clear. So yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, you're right. A lot of old films that were shot on I think it was more than 35mm, wasn't it, for film? I can't remember what it was, but that shot on whatever it is.
I think you had 35mm film and then you had 70mm as well.
70mm, that's the big money in it. That's the big money. And you're right, you're talking, I don't know if it's 16K or I don't know, but it's quite high.
It's in that ballpark. He's in Star Trek Star Trek the Motion Picture. The other guy.
Yes, this is the guy. Yes, who's in it with Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And he's a good guy in that, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah, he's in. Actually, he's in Star Trek the Motion Picture. I think Kirstie Alley's in.
Yeah. Star
Trek 2, I think.
No, I always associate him with the Kirstie Alley character. I get a bit confused here, but isn't it the one where they find God? Which one's that? Or am I morphing together 4 different films?
Yes, I always thought, I haven't seen it, but I always thought the one where they find God is Undiscovered Country, which is part 6.
Be mixing them up. But I do remember him in a tabard anyway.
Yeah.
But he's a right sod in this, isn't he, this one?
Well, that's what's dead funny, though, in a way that, like, he's so sleazy and...
Yeah.
You kind of can't beat an 80s bad guy in a way, but he's not a nice guy. And the way when he holds that money back at the end and he's like basically just screws him over.
Yeah, and he's got this kind of like Penfold delivery, hasn't he, where it's all kind of uptight, and it's a good character because you don't like him, so that's always good. You know, when his ex-wife comes into it, she seems quite nice.
Yeah.
You know, the decorator.
Oh no, but even that's good though. That like this is like, because this is one of them films where the characters could be really simplistic, and I guess to a point they are. But like this could be a really simplistic film where it's just somebody blowing money and just having a good time and everything. But having a little dimensions to this film and little good characterizations and everything.
There's loads going on.
And this is again about the 80s that I find fascinating. It's like a lot of them clothes there to me seem like clothes you could wear now.
Definitely.
Like when I think, Sorry, I thought I interrupted you then.
No, you didn't stall, no, you're right about clothes. We noticed it. Me and Jane were watching a Bullseye night before last. On Sunday, we watched a Bullseye, and there was a girl on Bullseye who was one of like the female darts players, and she had this sort of trouser suit on, and she had this kind of like half mulletish haircut. And I said to her, if you saw a girl like that walking around the Northern Quarter in Manchester, you'd think she was cool as anything.
Yeah.
You're dead cool. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it, with fashion? And
Bullseye, though, is such a good example because I know it's dead fashionable nowadays to be like meta and deconstruct everything and like analyze everything. But Bullseye is dead fascinating because sometimes you can watch a Bullseye and be like, wow, was this the 80s? And then other times, like you say, you can see somebody on Bullseye, you're just like, yeah, it's just you could wear that, like say now. Even some of the prizes, though. So I think Bullseye's got a reputation for like, oh, every prize was dead stupid, or you won a speedboat or something. But then sometimes you'd be like, you've won a Master System with 40 games. You're like,
yes.
Wow, that'd have been amazing in the 80s. Yeah.
You've won a 32-inch TV with built-in video. Well, hang on, if you got the equivalent now, you'd be over the bloody moon, wouldn't you? If it was this 50-inch HDR TV. He's a right sod though, this one, isn't he? These scenes are great.
Well, even that's interesting. I'm saying the other one about like stereotypes. But even this is really good if you think, like, what a great time period to grow up in. That, like, your main protagonist is, like, a black guy. And then the evil people are all, like, middle-aged white guys. Like, but I don't even think it's, like, a nice stereotype way. I think it's just cool that it's, like, it wasn't even a thing. It's
not even a thing. And this is the thing. They just happen to be. That's the thing in this film. They just happen to be. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always thought it was Sidney Poitier who presented this, but it's not who directed this. But that's Sidney Poitier's Crazy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Rick Moranis. I forgot about that.
Oh, no, but even that, I kind of forgot he was in it to myself, to be honest. He's a great actor, though. It's such a shame he retired. I mean, it was for, so I think he was just looking after his wife and things like that, but it was such a shame.
Yeah, because... he's amazing. This is a silly question to ask you, but Little Shop of Horrors, seen it?
Do you know what's really funny though? Literally, and I can send you a screen grab on WhatsApp later. Literally, before we started doing this commentary, I watched a song from Little Shop of Horrors and sent it to my niece, and I said, because I know my niece is a big Little Shop of Horrors fan.
Oh, does she like it? That's brilliant.
Yeah, and she was like saying, "Oh, I love that," and it was like literally, an hour and a half ago. So yeah, Little Shop of Horrors is awesome.
Yeah, because this must have been around the period where he was doing sort of supporting comic characters. Like if you think about his role in Ghostbusters. This is great. He repeats everything that people say. That's his joke.
But even that, it's tricky because on the one you say, "Oh, just repeat something."
Yeah,
which is easier said than.
It's just the way he does it. He's so funny.
But again, even the way you got a beard, like now, like most people, like beards are dead fashionable again now. But I think in the mid '80s, if you saw someone with a beard, it was like
it meant something, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like a little bit quirky. It wasn't just like, oh, every other person's got one. Excuse me.
See how he just keeps repeating everything, and you can't even hear him, but he's doing it.
And even talk about clothes though, the way that's suit there, the way that Buki, that suit, I'm pretty sure is the exact same one, literally the exact same one that Eddie Murphy wore in 48 Hours.
Do you reckon?
I'm sure I've read that it is, and I've seen a screen grab, and it looks exactly the same. That
reminds me of when people screen grab things like Space 1999, and then the same prop is in like Blake 7, like 6 years later, because someone bought it at auction,
I kind of love stuff like that, in a way that, like, because you've got to have such a good eye for stuff like that, because sometimes stuff like that passes me, but. Oh, the iceberg thing. Oh, my God.
It's the fact that he's put a little car in it and it's just...
And talking about WhatsApp, though. If you ever type in Richard Pryor on WhatsApp, there's a gif of virtually this scene where he's getting like...
Yeah.
And it's like...
Well, when he finds out that his assets have accumulated or whatever it is.
Yeah, and he's like...
he's got as a kid, what they were on about,
Oh, yeah.
I knew it was a bad thing, but... You could tell he made money, but I didn't understand it when they were talking about how his investments had...
But even that's great, though, as well, though.
Never understood it.
Like, this is one of the films you can watch when you're, like, 9 and not, like, know anything about finance or anything. But it still works.
Because of the way people react. And that's the good point, actually, is that there is a tendency sometimes to spoon-feed people that, they won't understand that, so you need to explain it. Well, you don't really.
Yeah.
No,
you're right, because I've heard so many times when they want to remake a film, and usually it's like an 80s film or 70s film, and they'll say, oh, we can't include a scene like this because people won't understand. And it's like, well, and I know I mentioned it on every other video, but one of my favourite films is Short Circuit. And you're going to remake that recently, and the scene when number 5 watches the Three Stooges, you want to change that to in watching The Simpsons. Because they said people won't know what the Three Stooges is, and it's like,
why do they need to?
Well, yeah. Also, say why it's on screen. But the Statue of Liberty in this film, is one of the few films where you see scaffolding around the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
Yeah, it's when they were painting it for the centenary, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good fact. I didn't know that. But yeah, it's true that people panic. They say, they won't know who the Three Stooges are. Well, so what? They'll think, who's that? I'll go and look into it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird point of view, isn't it? That people think you can only enjoy something if you understand every single element of it, which actually, in a way, makes making the film pointless. Because if you already know, if you're convinced that your audience has already understood and seen everything before anyway, what's the point of making it?
Well, I think that's the thing. I think especially films now, because... I think there's such like the audience has been so fragmented, and obviously a lot of people still go to the cinema, but like Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube and everything, I think everything's been micromanaged now so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, some things do slip through the cracks, but I think a lot of mainstream films, the budgets are so high, and you've got to be so sure of getting that market share. I think that's the only reason to do it. I don't think there's no great malicious thing in there. I just think they're just trying to engineer it so a lot of people go see it, but
a lot of the great films, on paper, don't look like they'll have mass appeal.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
was going to say, it's funny when they all turn up and they've all had brand new
Uniforms.
It reminds me a bit of, when in Red Dwarf, when Rimmer, when they got a bit of money on Red Dwarf and they got Rimmer a lovely quilted blue top.
That kind of with Red Dwarf, I'm real sketchy. It's like I used to watch it and I like it, but I don't know certain specifics. But I get what you're getting at. It kind of like
you should give it a go. Red Dwarf's fun. You should give it a go. It's fun. He does look cool with them sunglasses on, though, doesn't he, Richard Pryor, when he's like that?
But even that though as well. I mean, to me, like I'm so sort of, almost like I've drunk the Kool-Aid kind of thing, because like to me, if this is aged really well and everything works, I'm all on board. If suddenly somebody's wearing some crazy, because somebody could look at that and think, oh, maybe it's a little bit old-fashioned, but to me that still looks really cool. So
yeah, and again, you're not seeing it as good as me, but I'm seeing it in 1080p on that monitor, and it just looks brand new.
But that's the thing though as well, and I think sometimes some of these films, they haven't really aged. That's a problem, but it's kind of like, well, that's one thing though. Anytime I see somebody with glasses on in a film, I always kind of notice that the glasses are flat because they're like fake glasses.
They've got no prescription in them.
So they just a piece of plastic, really.
That's a really good spot, that actually, isn't it? Because people's normal glasses, when they turn, their eyes look different, don't they?
I love this music by Rakuda, though. The music's awesome.
Oh, is this specially composed, this? Because this plays all the way through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have you noticed this? I bet you were about to say the same thing, but this device they use all the way through of showing you headlines, like all the way through. It's a really good storytelling technique, isn't it?
Well, I think that's really good though as well, because like I say, it's a really good shorthand way of showing what's going on in the story. But I don't know if I said this before, like when I talked on the phone to you. But with me, if I ever see a newspaper in a film, even if it's a film I've never seen before, I'm so used to looking for the little in-jokes along the side headlines. I don't actually read the headline. I instantly go for the corners because I expect to see a picture of the director or something, or like some little stupid little story or something.
And also, I suppose you want to check out whether they've gone to the trouble of writing actual articles or whether it's just like elephant juice or whatever.
Just over it,
This is funny, isn't it? Because this is a good example of a scene that might not make it now, where he's basically just picked up a girl for the night, Well,
but again, that is true, though, because you absolutely bang on there that I feel like they'd be like, oh, you can't do that. It's a little bit, it's like, it's not, quote-unquote, nice thing to necessarily. But, like, it just gives him, like, he's like a real person. That's what
people do.
Yeah, especially people who've just won 30 million.
Yeah. And that's the problem. If you start to pretend things don't exist, that's when you get into problems then. Of course, he's got a few quid, he's out for a few beers, he's come back with a bird. What's wrong with that?
Well, yeah. Well, I think I think to be fair, I think the vast majority of films still are kind of like this, and they do take chances. I think it's only when you see a real mainstream film there that you notice that, or something on TV and they've watered it down a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think you mentioned Family Guy earlier on, and Family Guy, they take so many chances still. I see so much stuff on Family Guy that I'm like, wow, you can say that on TV.
Yeah. I don't know if you, like me, I've got a thing about numbers that appear in films.
I do look for things like hotel numbers and phone numbers and things. Yeah.
Phone numbers, numbers on doors, numbers on the side of buses. I always look at them and take note. I don't know what I'm looking for.
I was just going to say, is there anything specific that catches your eye, like the same numbers are repeated?
Well, there is one weird thing I have noticed, and I want you to start looking for this now. No, I'm going to say it to you.
Oh my God.
There is a number which appears a lot in films, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to plant the seed now, 47.
Ooh.
So keep your eyes out.
That could be interesting. I know it's Jackie Chan's favourite number is 47.
You keep your eyes out. I'll plant the seed and we'll talk again in about a year about this and you'll be like, oh no, I can't believe it. It was...
Talk about that though. I'm dead glad you said that because I will keep my eye out for that. But
it's mad.
Have you noticed in films, if you ever see a phone number, it's 555?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, that rings a bell, 555, yeah.
Yeah, because so they didn't give away anybody's real phone number because there's no 555, or there wasn't for a long time. I can never remember the specifics, but basically there's no 555 phone number. So nearly always when you see a phone number, it's basically that.
Oh. I think the stamp's coming up, isn't it? The stamp.
I love that bit.
Genius, yeah. I couldn't help thinking, though, when he mailed the stamp and did all that, I couldn't help thinking, why didn't you mail 200 of them and you'll get rid of all your money?
Oh, yeah.
Because that was genius, wasn't it, the stamp?
Well, I guess it's a rare stamp, but even so, that like you say, that like if it had been like
rare, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's cool.
Oh, I love it how he's a little bit like that.
But even this is one of those things when you were saying that I don't think they mention him being black. I think this is like one of those things where they're saying like, I think when he very fixed one and he walks in and they're like, oh, listen to post office kind of thing and stuff.
Or is that just because he looks a bit downtown? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Maybe that's true. I
honestly don't think it comes up.
You know, I think you might be right. I wouldn't like bet money on it. I think you could. I think you could be right. Yeah.
Here we go. This is the one. Yeah, because it's printed upside down, isn't it, by mistake?
Oh yeah.
And it's what do you call it? It's like a biplane, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Love it. That's right, because they think they're dead clever now, and then he mails it to them, doesn't he?
Well, even that though, I think I said it earlier on, but you just can't see. You can't beat seeing a bad guy get the comeuppance, and the way they just read the postcard, then realise the stamp's on there.
It's brilliant. Here we go.
Boom.
Boom. It's so clever.
Talk about stuff like that there. I think I was saying just before we started recording this commentary, but like sending silly messages on WhatsApp, I love doing that. One thing I love doing, at least once a year, if I see a postcard and it's got something funny on it, send it to somebody, because I very rarely post letters anymore. But I don't know why. I just love sending a postcard to just like my niece or somebody or something.
Yeah.
And then just say like, "Oh, I'm on a cruise," and it's just like,
yeah, love for Mauritius.
Yeah.
Here he is, Chuck Newsworthy.
Oh no, it's sad.
So yeah, I definitely never understood this whole thing here.
But even this though as well, what a great dynamic and how cinematic is it that like
they come in. Going, nice one, mate.
Yeah.
That's always a good scene, isn't it? And someone's like, oh, no.
But I think it just works so well that, like, he's trying to spend this money and he can't say why he's spending it. And they're trying saving money. Yeah. And he's like, no, what are you doing?
Because actually, if you think in terms of, like, soap opera, the perfect soap opera scene is when somebody's doing something for a reason that they can't tell someone else why they're doing it. And then not telling that other person leads to tragedy. That's the perfect soap opera moment, Matt. It's tragedy, isn't it? It's Shakespeare.
Well, as well, and it dovetails into what you've just said. I read this screenwriting thing recently where, say, something really cinematic is when the audience knows something that another character doesn't know. So you're consciously like going, oh my God, why are they doing this thing?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's I'd love to go on a screenwriting course, and I mean, you'd enjoy that as well, I think.
Yeah, I think that. Oh no, anything like that. I mean, I think sometimes you can almost know too much about how films are made, but I think I'm just so geeky in that regard. I can't help but liking to know what makes a good screenplay or what makes a good shot composition or something.
I'd love to go on a course and.
But I'm still a little bit jealous when did you say like you've like been drama school and had acting lessons and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever be a good actor, but I'd love to try.
Well, I'm not a good actor, but I did go to drama school. I'm a bit of a turn. I am. I'm no Stanislavski.
Very cinematic actory names there.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. When you walk in, they play the synth music to make it seem like really...
But even that, though, as well, something like when we talk about the synth keyboards they use, we're overused in this movie. And
it's tinkling around in the background,
But I think that's one thing, if there is something about the 80s decade that makes it a certain way, and I thought about this recently, it doesn't mean it's true, but it's what I thought about, that I think because 80s keyboard sounds were so cool and so clear, and you could record them so well, I think they almost like elevated 80s films, just even if you don't particularly like it, I think the sounds are so specific.
It is. And it's almost the way, it's not just the sounds that the synth's making, it's the way that they can bend it. So I don't know if they call it bending the
like pitch bend,
or pitch bending, that's it. Where it goes, it's that sound.
I'll just say why it's on screen, but that Aston Martin there is the same make and model of the one from The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a Volante, I think.
So, Living Daylights, let me see how I do here. 87?
Yeah. Oh, good call. That's not bad off the top of your head. Good memory.
Yeah, this is when she starts to like him, doesn't she? But then she doesn't like that he keeps frivolously spending all his money.
And even that's... Oh, I love when he's when he pays the guy. Yeah. When he's like, oh my God, he's had a trauma, quick pay him off. Yeah. It's like, oh, you can tell he's injured, and he's like, he's perfectly fine.
So, I know the answer to this. Whose dad was he in a sitcom?
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so it's American sitcom from the mid to late 70s. Early 80s?
I feel like I should know that.
Okay, I'll drop the next one. Robin Williams. He's the dad in Mork and Mindy. He's Mindy's dad in Mork and Mindy.
Oh, get the outlet. Oh, good call.
I don't know why I know that. As soon as I was like, straight away.
I just caught myself doing it on camera there, but I don't know if I've said this to you recently, or I say it to everybody who I can mention it to. When I found out this bit of information, it blew my mind. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it, to give yourself more brain power, your eyes look to a blank surface, so it gives your brain more processing power.
Oh, so it's a bit like clearing the cache.
Yeah. And I just caught myself doing it then, looking up to the ceiling. But as soon as somebody told me that, at first I was like, oh, there's no way that's true. You don't look to the floor.
Makes sense, though.
And somebody else said this as well. If you're remembering a real, genuine memory, you look to the right.
Ah, yes.
If you're just making up, you look to the left.
Yeah.
And I've never really been able to test it properly. But I sometimes think, oh, that can't be true. There's no way that's true. And every so often I'll be like, say, just looking up at something or looking at it, and actually be like, oh my God, it is true.
Yeah, I've heard that. They use it for like detecting whether people are lying and stuff, don't they? Like body language and stuff. So we haven't talked about this accountant lass in this. Again, she's just someone who's like a really good supporting role that's completely convincing.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it, where she just seems like a real person.
Yeah, she really does.
Like, it's got like real emotions, and just like she looks like a real person. I don't know what that means, but like, and I think that's something. If there is something that's been lost in quote unquote modern films, I think that might be it. That like like look at Richard Pryor in the mid-80s, this giant star, this huge comedian, and how many people in this film, like we've touched on quite a few times, where just like normal people, they're like real people, and just like and even him as this news guy. That's kind of what news guys are like a lot of the time. So she is a genuinely good. It is a good performance. There's no two ways about that.
I do remember because there's a fair bit of boozing in this film, and I do remember as a kid thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to have a beer."
Well, isn't that kind of funny though as well? That like when it's something that you can't do, it's so captivated into it. And I remember saying to my dad, because I nearly always got like, now I've actually had a bit of a shave, or like I've trimmed it, but I remember saying to my dad, I can't wait till I start shaving. He was like, no, you won't be saying that when you have to shave, like, kind of thing.
It's a right pain, isn't it?
Yeah. But I tell you what, though, if there was ever a film to do a commentary and have a couple of beers with, it's
this is the
probably
one.
Brewster's Millions.
Hey, that reminds me. Right. I'm going to grab in a can. Feel free to keep speaking if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I will do.
Move too, but, we'll work it out.
No, it's fine.
Back in a sec.
Oh, no, this is awesome. Glad he's had me on the commentary. Kind of reminds me of the very first time when me and my mate Tom used to do commentaries, and you do Des Wins, and we're having Boilermakers, and we'd had about like 4 or 5, and I just couldn't wait any longer for go for a pee, and I left my mate doing the commentary, and I still to this day feel guilty about it. So trying to keep the conversation going.
Just whack my leg on the door. You know when you hit your knee on something and it goes, oh.
Oh, isn't that a funny feeling though? Sometimes though, that like
it's like a ball.
But even if you can really deal with like pain quite well, sometimes if you do just catch yourself, you're like, oh, it's worse than like being punched or falling downstairs or something.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. This is it. So his investments have accidentally come off, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh no! Back to where he started.
And he knows now. This guy knows now because he's been in and they've told him. You know, the other fella.
Oh, yeah. But even that's great, though, as well, though. The fact that he's literally back to where he started. Like, how many films would do that?
That's
this
right,
far in,
we'll
just be, like, reset. Like, just click.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you said, when you used to watch this, you couldn't drink, and you were like, oh, can't wait to have a beer. But and I said as well, when this is always my... If I'm ever really hungover, I say, I'll put Brewster's Millions on. But I remember the very first time I ever got the flu, because I always used to say, oh, I've had the flu, and I hadn't realised I got like a cold. But this was like about 1991, 1992. This was on TV, and I had the flu really bad, or to a point.
Yeah,
and I was so ill.
Yeah.
And my dad was proper old school, and he was like, oh, have some brandy, that's good for you. And I remember we went up to the co-op and got like this big bottle of brandy. And so now I can almost like picture tasting that brandy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I was like old. I mean, I don't know how old was I in 1992? 18, 19 or something like that. But yeah.
That's like me. I can't eat mint sauce now. You know when you have lamb and you put mint sauce on it?
Oh, yeah.
I can't because I got in when I was single. I was out drinking a lot, as you do, and I got in one night absolutely hammered, and all I had in the fridge was a jar of mint sauce, and I was so hungry I ate it all.
Oh my god!
And so now I can't. I'm like, if I smell mint sauce.
Bring that funny though about stuff like that when I say about genuine memories. That I feel like if you'd said to me, write a story about somebody coming in from the pub drunk, you had one thing in the house, I would never have wrote it like that. So it's
it's so random, mint sauce, isn't it? Here we go. None of the above.
Even that. That's just a perfect slogan instant.
Yeah.
If I went to vote and I saw none of the above, I'd probably vote. I might be tempted to do that.
I remember thinking this during the last election when everybody lost their minds. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Everyone went. That was when I came off Facebook, actually, because everyone had just gone bonkers over the election. And I thought, I can't be coping with this. And I remember thinking at the time, do you know what? We need Richard Pryor, none of the above.
Isn't that kind of funny? I've heard a few people that recently say, and again, I think like what you're saying.
Quickly, sorry. Do you recognise her?
Oh.
Very famous actress now. Hopefully it'll cut back to her. Please go back to her. I don't want to rewind it.
I did see she got like...
Come on, go back to it. Oh, no. I'll tell you who it is. Have you ever seen Insidious? The horror film?
No, I don't think so.
You know, you've got like Insidious, Insidious 2, Insidious The Last Key. Anyway, she's the psychic in that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Random, I know. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, because but that's one thing I like though about like say films like this though, the way that like like she was on screen for like 2 seconds and then like
she's a big.
Yeah. That's a fair old career there, isn't it? I mean, it's
What was your first film? Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
No, this is great. I love this. They printed the newspaper.
Right. Well, it's funny as well, talk about like stuff that's instantly like memory, but there used to be a paper mill like about 10, 15 minutes from this house. I used to walk past it when I was a kid all the time going into town. And now if I see a big roll of paper like that, I nearly always just think of that paper mill.
Yeah. Near us, there used to be a factory that made frozen chips.
Ooh.
And it's a very specific smell. And we can't have frozen chips again. It's a mint sauce situation, really. If I open the bag, it smells awful to me.
Well, it's like with baking bread. Loads of people like the smell of that.
Yeah.
And there's a big bakery down the road from me, and I'm like, it's like I don't hate it, but I'm not a huge fan of that smell.
He actually does a really good pitch here. You could drop this in now, couldn't you?
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that's where any film, but especially comedy, I think if it rings true or ages really well, I think it kind of almost catches you off guard or something, because you're like laughing and thinking, oh, that's funny. And then you're going, yes, that's actually true as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to go to be myself, actually.
Yeah, go for it. That was a common thing where they'd, you don't see it now, obviously, but having lots of televisions in a shop and people looking through the window and seeing either themselves on the television, because there was a camera sometimes pointing at people outside the shop, or you see the news on all the different screens. You see that in lots of different films. It's not a thing anymore because you don't really have windows outside of like TV shops now, do you? I was just saying, Dave, they did that shot. You know that shot you see quite often of...
outside a TV shot with people looking in the window?
Yeah. And that was quite a common device, wasn't it? You'd look through the window of a TV shop and you'd see 12 different screens all with the same thing on them.
Yeah.
And that was it's not a cliche, but it's a device that's used quite often, isn't it?
Well, I feel like there's one TV shop, and I don't know if it's still there because I haven't been past it for ages, but I think it's on the way to like Bristol and Tunstall kind of area.
Yeah.
There's a little shop there that had a TV in the window that always had the news on. And anytime I went past, I always thought like Brewster's Millions or something, because it was just like...
And I've seen that in lots of things. It's like... I might have this wrong, but in... the BBC did a version of Day of the Triffids in the early 80s.
Oh, yeah?
And Day of the Triffids starts with, like, the end of the world. It's like a sort of Survivor setup, it's like the end of the world. And everyone's gone and no one knows why. But anyway, he sort of walks past, on a deserted London street, walks past the TV shop and all the screens are on and they're all just showing static.
Ooh.
And that's a common thing. That I love this, by the way, again, this montage, loads of montages in this.
Well, you can't beat a good montage, though. And especially, and especially a montage that tells you the story. I only found this out relatively recently. Somebody once said to me, or I read somewhere, that Rocky IV is like 70% montages.
Is it really?
And I'm like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that, yeah.
And if I said before, I think we said before the commentary, but I got some cans of Heineken, and I got this one bottle of beer that was left in the fridge. I don't know.
Oh, this is the one you bought from the pub that's turned itself into an off license.
Yeah, it's 8.4. So.
Oh my God!
Kicking ass.
Rocket fuel. Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Well, even this as well. This suddenly like this. Even this is so Trading Places as well, though. When they go for the Orange Cop reports.
I need to watch Trading Places again. I haven't seen it in yonks. I just remember Jamie Lee Curtis because for a lot of people that was the first,
Well, yeah. Well, when me and my mate saw John Landis, and my mate said to John Landis, "Oh, me and my brother watch this every year." And John Landy says, "Oh, it's only because she takes her top off." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe." Funny enough, funny you mentioned Trading Places. That started as a Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor movie. That's it was.
Do you know what?
For.
I can see that.
It makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it? I mean,
it really does make all the sense in the world. Oh my God! Because if you think about it, at that time, you know, when Richard Pryor was known for his stand-up sets and everything, and then suddenly Eddie Murphy's on the scene, isn't he? A couple of years later, and they've got a similar vibe about them, haven't they?
Well, that's what's kind of funny though, because like I've heard loads of interviews and stand-up with Eddie Murphy saying that Richard Pryor was his idol, and then the flip side of that, I've heard like Richard Pryor saying that like he liked Eddie Murphy, who was always kind of like, "Oh, I can't believe there's this new guy coming in, he's going to take over my career." And then when they made that Harlem Nights together and everything,
this is the thing: is it doesn't matter how big you are, you worry, all the time, you know.
Well, I'm amazed though.
Look at that camera there. Look at the size of that camera.
Well, that's correct. Well, again, that's what's kind of funny about the 80s though. I think the 80s is a really interesting decade, because I think you could say this about any decade. I really think the 80s is so specific, where you would get people that had worked down a coal mine, or they worked in like a pottery firm, or they had like a really quote unquote old fashioned job. All this technology was creeping in, like mobile phones and CD players and computers. So you had this real good mix of like these giant video cameras and like mobile phones, and then you could literally talk to like a 70-year-old that worked in like a pottery place. You know, it's like a really good mix, I think.
Yeah, it must have been exciting to be around in the 80s, because, like, if you can imagine, like when your catalogue gets delivered, you know, your not your Argos catalogue, but would it be Freeman's or K's?
I know.
You'd be looking around the back and going, "I've never heard of that. What's that? Oh my God!" Whereas now, if there's something new, you know about it because it's everywhere. Whereas at the time, you'd probably like look in the Argos catalogue and you'd be like, "What? You can have a TV and it's like the size of a Walkman?" Yeah. No, you know.
Well, I think even now, though, to be fair, I think you're exactly right that like in the 80s there was so much stuff that I found out from like print media. But I think even now, there's one or two little news stories that if you hadn't read them somewhere, like in a magazine, they like disappear. Yeah. And there's so many YouTubers that like they'll talk about something from like 5 years ago, and the only place it was mentioned was like in a magazine. There'll be like a little quote from an interview or a little still photograph, and I think it's because it's like a hard copy and it's always there.
Yeah,
it's like you can go back to go, "Oh, can you believe it was in a magazine?" And I think like, but you're right. In the 80s, it was definitely like a big deal. There's no getting around it. Like I think.
Yeah. I never understood why there was a train going through the...
Yeah, that does seem... But do you know what's funny about that, though? Because on the one hand, I can't think of a real world example of it. And on the one hand, you think, "Oh, there's no way that could be true. There was this baseball ground where a train went through it." But then again, I mean, I really don't know.
Have you got a light?
Yeah, there's what... I have got one on next to us. It's do you want me...
Have you got any more?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 1 second. Oh, yeah.
Stick one more on for me.
Is that better?
Have you turned it on?
Oh yeah. I want. Is that better?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'm just brightening you up like I did with this Blu-ray copy of Brewster's Millions.
Oh, no, but if you've got, like, chroma key me into something later on, like, the more, like, the better, really.
Yeah. It was really weird. When I downloaded this copy, legally acquired it, I was just really surprised how dark it was. And it was because of this this obsession with contrasts that's going on at the moment. Like...
Well, I think that's one thing that is kind of funny, because when I first found out about that, when they said about like true blacks on screens and stuff.
True blacks, all that.
But then again, though, that said, I really do think it is a thing, which is the same with anything else. Once that stuff is like across the board and everyone wants every film to look like that or every TV show, and that's when you start, it all comes and falls apart.
Yeah. And I suppose I'm still used to going, I'll turn up the brightness, I'll turn up the contrast. You know, you just whack everything up, don't you? I don't know. It's just like, especially when you used to have a little portable in your bedroom like me and you could actually, you know.
Yeah. But you know what's funny though? One thing I'm really terrible for though, not unless something is really out of whack, I'll watch any bizarro, like it could be like the world's worst image. I'm like,
I'm the same. I don't understand the people go too far in their seeking perfection, you know, and no, I mean, look at this copy now. I mean, I've overexposed this to Billy or to Brighton Hill, but it's still great to watch.
He's the guy from Wayne's World as well, isn't he?
Okay, tell me more. I don't know that.
Yeah, because in Wayne's World, there's quite a few times where they go to like this TV company for like find out how the broadcast is happening. And the guy with the mustache, he's the guy behind the counter, almost playing the exact same role and the exact, you know. I don't think he's wearing the exact same clothes, but he may as well be.
That's the irony, you know. You go to drama school and they teach you like how to be like flexible and how to adopt different characters. But the reality is, when you get out there in the world, people find one thing that you're decent at, and they want you to do that again and again and again. You know, unless you're Robert Downey, mind you, even these method actors, it's all bollocks, really, isn't it? Because they all really do similar things in all the films.
Well, I think there's certain actors, and I think, like you said, nearly all actors, they find one thing they're good at.
Yeah, like John Wayne, you know.
Exactly. Well, I think there's like one. You know. I think there's like one or two actors though, where like I'm amazed sometimes where I'll see somebody and I'll be like, I can't believe that's that same guy. Like, you know, it's just like...
You do get them, yeah.
Yeah, there's like one or two.
Definitely, where the true chameleons, aren't they? And it's like, whoa.
Well, I think Hugh McGregor's like one a little bit where when I see Hugh McGregor in Trainspotting and I see Hugh McGregor as Obi-Wan in Star Wars, I'm like, is that the same guy?
I think they used to... It's the difference between... They used to describe them as personality actors versus character actors.
Well, that's a good. Yeah.
And your personality actor is your Anthony Hopkins. You know, I don't know. It's like you. Oh, let me give a better example. Brian Blessed. That's a personality actor.
Well, yeah. Well, he's like
you want Brian Blessed. If you book him, you know, if he came and did something else, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you?
Well, I think with Brian Blessed, he's one of the people where you see him on screen and he's so larger than life. But even like when he plays like animated characters, you go, "Oh yeah, it's Brian Blessed."
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
Actually, we were watching a cartoon with Bo the other day, and Jane said, "Oh, I like that character," and I was like, "That's Brian Blessed's voice."
And bring that kind of through as well. I think it's kind of funny, but like say people like me or you, or like this kind of mentality of like instantly you'll just recognize the voice. What you'll go, "Oh yeah, it's that person."
I forgot how many times this character comes back into it as a kind of he's almost like, he's not the fairy godmother, but he's it's
almost like his Obi-Wan almost or something. Obi-Wan,
he's Obi-Wan, isn't he?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right, he's Obi-Wan. He seems so nice. I'd love to go up a Labour club with him and have a few, pints of mild with him.
Oh no, but again, that's that thing, isn't it? Where I think with something like this, and this is something though, where talking about like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Where when I say, because my parents were a little bit older than most people's parents, and I was always amazed at their points of referencing. Like they would say, "Oh, like almost like what you just said, like like go to a pub with this person or something."
Yeah,
and like people that grew up in the 80s and 90s, I sometimes think, "Oh, our points of reference are a bit different," but sometimes you do just think, yeah, just like go to the club with that guy, and just like just like I sometimes think of us as being like the younger guys that are like like my niece's husband who was like he's obsessed with like the 90s. He grew up in the 90s.
Oh, is he into what you call it, Britpop and all that?
Yeah. But his points of reference, they're almost totally different than mine. Like he loves Britpop stuff and like Tarantino and all people like that.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers, all that.
Yeah, but then again, like when I've said to him, like he can remember smoking in a pub and going in the bookies when it was full of like old people smoking and stuff. And it's amazing how each generation you think, oh, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s aren't that different or totally different. They go, oh no, they're exactly the same.
They are, yeah. The 80s was the 70s with computers, let's be fair,
Yeah, pretty much.
They've just done an interesting wipe, which they don't use in any other part of the film, where they go from Monty doing his speech, and then it goes into a circular wipe into the next scene.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Sort of Star Warsy.
Like
Star Wars use them and weird wipes.
Yeah.
That's quite unusual, I think. Because that's a video effect, isn't it? Going...
But even with stuff like that, though, like now, everything's computers, isn't it? But, like, I don't know how they did stuff like that then.
They'd have to transfer it. My understanding is they've had to transfer it to what was it called? It's going to come out of my head. There was one computer video system that could do clever things.
Yeah, it was like an edit droid. There was that was one, and Avid was another, but I don't know if that's more recent. I know.
What was it called?
Umatic. I know I used that.
Yeah, it's one of those. It was a computer that you could buy, and it cost like 30 grand, and it could do some of these, effects. So they've had to transfer that bit of the film over to video, then applied the effect, and then refilmed that effect. If that makes sense.
No, it does, yeah.
You sometimes see it. Have you ever watched when you've been watching something like the Carry On films, and it's just about to go into a dissolve, and the likeness changes suddenly?
Yeah, you do see that. You see like a distinct change.
Yeah. That's because it's been transferred to video for that section because they can't do the dissolve in on film.
All right. Okay. Cool. So I'm always amazed by stuff like that. There, especially like once you go, anything beyond the 80s, like the 70s or the 60s or the 50s, like we just think, like, wow, how did they do this stuff? Like, kind of thing.
Yeah, it must have been so much fun finding solutions to things. Do you reckon that was all real fruit?
I'm tempted to say yes. I don't know why.
Probably easier just to do real fruit, isn't it?
Yeah, my gut instinct is to say yes. And that food would probably be good for your gut with all fruit, or maybe not. There's a lot of fruit there.
Oh, this is nice. They all do a whip round for him, don't they? Such a good film, this.
Well, it's such a heartwarming film, though. It's like when people say feel-good film.
And he's the mate that everybody wants, isn't he?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, I've always tried to be loyal to my friends, and like I say, it's nice if there is people like that there. Does he have to?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Oh.
And even the security guard, you remember? Because he's a really nice guy.
What? Oh. Oh, my God.
It's brilliant.
And what's great about Richard Pryor, though, as well, especially because like one of the very first films I ever saw him in was my sister took me to Superman 3 at the cinema. So it's like,
I love Superman 3. There's one we could do.
That's Superman 3 is really good.
It goes so mad at the end with all the robots and...
it's me and my mate did a commentary on it once, but yeah, it'd be good to do another one on it. I mean,
it's bonkers.
But with Richard Pryor, the more I find out about Richard Pryor, we think, he did all these drugs, he was married loads of times, and all this crazy stuff happened to him. And then he can make the most heartwarming, like, nice films. It's like, Do
you know what it is sometimes? If you live your life on the edge, your emotions are always on the edge, and it makes you great at this.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. I think a lot of comedians, we talk about, like, different comedic styles, but... Yeah. I think comedians that are really good, like your Richard Pryor and George Collins and stuff like that. Yeah. That I think, like you said, they've had these insane lives. That I think it gives it like a sense of realism. And there's like, I think they really knew what real friends were, and these kind of emotions were. Yeah.
Love this. I can never read what he says there. It's something like, I'm going to get torn up.
I think it might be torn up.
Torn up.
I think it is.
And I remember thinking as a kid, you're going to what? Like,
but again, like what you're saying about not understanding everything, you didn't need to understand every sentence.
We know what he means because he's,
yeah.
God, yeah, this seemed like the worst party ever.
Well, even that's a good little moment there.
It's brilliant.
I think a lot of people, when you think of a party, you think, oh, everybody's enjoying themselves and everybody's. Well, there's nothing weird sometimes when you see a party winding down or.
Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's just like two people there, or there's just like people falling asleep and stuff.
This is the worst. I don't like this because like the hotel manager who's been really nice to him for the last hour. He's suddenly like, it's checkout time.
And it shows they were just in it for the money and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
He genuinely looks like he's just woke up after a bender, doesn't he?
But even that, that really, because there's a chance that he could have been really messed up, but he really sells it because like, I normally think I'm pretty good at waking up if I've been drinking or not had much sleep. But even, the very first few minutes, even if you are good at it, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, this reminds me of the other day. Me and Jane had a more beers than we would normally. And we only went to bed at like 2:30, and our little girl tried to wake us up at 4:30. And that's what Jane woke up like Richard Pryor. She was like...
Oh no, but it's like, say, sometimes like I'll wake up and I'd like to feed the cat or something, but like, if you've got like a little baby or something, then you're like, oh my gosh.
Well, she's old enough now to knock on the door. She's like,
oh yeah.
Hello? Morning? It's like, piss off. Oh, I love this. Back in his... he says to me, just a shirt on my back. That's what they said.
That's true, yeah.
And they play the bit of like jazz music from the previous nights a little bit.
Yeah. But even this is one thing about 80s films that, again, I think you go to lots of films, but I think there's quite a few 80s films there. I really like when they're winding down and just that kind of like, just when you're just, almost looks like the Death Star plans there.
I was just going to say, I'd love that now.
Like, that's
if I had a bachelor pad in Shoreditch, that is how I want it decorated.
That's really good.
It's like a record player, isn't it? Or something. It's like a...
Yeah, almost... it is, yeah, of course, yeah, that's what it is, yeah. Oh, God.
You know what's coming, don't you?
It just takes it all away when all them people come in.
Because she clicks, she goes, okay, boys.
Oh, no.
It's so funny, they're all waiting behind the door.
But even again, that's like, because this moment's quite realistic.
It is.
But even that part there is like really stylized and like, you think, well, but it feels quite natural that, there was just 50 people just waiting there.
Just stood there waiting. And they're all dressed the same.
But I think this is always a sign of a good film, though, as well. When you sort of, even though you've seen it like a million times, you can't help but get like drawn into it a little bit. You're just like, oh, this is that bit where he gets set up and like, he's been dropped in it like.
And it's drawing us in, so we're like talking a little bit less because we're a bit like, oh yeah, I love this, And it's he's got his shirt back on, and it's just great.
But I've definitely said this to you before, though, and I've said this to my other mates when I've done commentaries, but I really do feel like the best films and the best people to do commentaries on films are, because don't get me wrong, I think, if you praise up at everything and you're always just like, everything's perfect, there's no problems with it and stuff, but you can't beat seeing people who are genuine fans of films, and I can tell you've got like a passion for this film, I've got like a passion for this film, and obviously this film was successful, and it's obviously got a bit of a pedigree that's based on, it's been remade, it's based on the book and everything. It's just a good movie, and
it's great. And I'm guessing it's one of those films as well, Dave, that that had its second life on video. I'd love to see the box office on it, but I'm guessing video is where it's at with this. It's just a guess.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, when you say about the Rotten Tomatoes score and everything, there
30%. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's crazy.
How could you not like this film? I mean, give it 60 and call it average, but 30.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's one of them things where I've always to what critics say with the picture salt, but there's no way this is a 30% movie. There's no way. Mental. I mean,
yeah. Here we go. Here's the clock. This whole sequence at the end, when time's running out, it's a bit of a masterclass.
Well, it's just perfect because I mean, just even on paper, it's really good. And then you've got how it's filmed, the editing, the sound of the chimes, and everything.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a masterclass, actually. I think at the end,
But I feel like directors like this, like Walter Hill, and he's done like quite a few of my favourite films, like 48 Hours and Red Heat and stuff.
Oh, did he do 48 Hours? I really like that.
Yeah, that's a great movie, isn't it? But I think he's one of them directors where if you ask your average Joe in the streets, be like, Walter Hill, who's he? But it's like, say, it's masterclass directing. It's,
Here he is. That's right. And the key to this is that Walter, whatever his name is, the blonde guy.
Oh, yeah.
He tells her, doesn't he?
What he's done, yeah.
What he's done, and that's the key to it. And I always remember, every time I watch it, I always think that if he didn't mention it to her, because he brags, he's pleased with himself.
But I think even that, though, as well, that's something, though, and that's such a cool thing. I'm dead glad you said that, because even there's films I've seen quite a few times where you think, I've seen it so many times. You can't help me like, why did he would have got away with it? I'm glad he said it.
And there's a little bit of you, I don't know what little bit it is, that thinks, I wonder if it'll be different this time.
Well, yeah, that's true, yeah. No, that's a good point.
It's weird. Yeah, and this is when she realises that he's a douche. Here we go. Here comes the punch. I love the punch.
Well, even that's great. Preposterous.
That's right. And him firing her leads to the idea of him hiring her.
Well, yeah.
It's brilliant. It's a waterfall.
What do you think, though? Look at all the stuff that's happening in like 30 seconds.
An awful decorator. That's him calling her a bit of a...
Well, it's a floozy. Boom.
Nice.
I mean, you can't condone violence, but some people need a punch in the face.
They do, yeah. That's right, because he's only £20,000 under, isn't he?
That's true, yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Here we go. This is so... And as well, how exciting is this? It's someone signing a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the clock, got the pendulum. Oh.
Love it.
Bingo.
That reminds me of Stir Crazy when he does that.
No, that's it, yeah. Well, when they get sentenced to like 100 odd years or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Send them to the showers.
Get a big towel.
Big towel. That seems like improv when he says that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Peddling the Blues.
I also thought it was such a shame that Richard Pryor didn't seem like many of the films he made. I know he suffered from depression and stuff, but it's just like...
I have heard that he felt a little bit he felt like he'd sold out with some of these bigger films, but
yeah,
I think that's just not having good advice around you, because someone needs to say to him, mate, oh, what's that?
Oh, no, I was going to say about that, funny enough, when you said you downloaded this film, this is just...
Oh, it's been ripped off Sky?
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's the only HD version. When you said you got the HD version...
I presumed it was off Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. I think the only way you can get it is off Sky.
That's hilarious.
When you said you got it off Blu-ray, I just thought, oh, you got it off Blu-ray.
That's amazing. That's proper old school, that. That's a bit like video, isn't it?
Yeah, my HD version is off Sky as well. But that's funny, because like nearly every time when I hear this film, I know, you said remembering the videotape recording, I just think, oh, it's recorded off TV. So I don't think I've seen Brewster's Millions not recorded off TV. I don't think.
Do you know, I'm really chuffed that happened, because that really reminds me of, the experience of watching something on video.